Good afternoon. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure for me to be here with the new SRSG, Laila Zerrougui. I will make a few remarks and then she takes over. This morning, the Security Council adopted a resolution on the protection of children in armed conflict that sent out important messages and contained some major elements. First, it safeguards the integrity of the current mechanism of the United Nations on the protection of children in armed conflict. Secondly, it emphasizes the need for further measures regarding the persistent perpetrators of violations of children's rights. And thirdly, it tasks the Secretary General to continue submitting the annual reports, very important documents, on the situation of children in armed conflict. You may have noted that we had a very, very good echo for this open debate. Over 50 speakers are inscribed in the list. 30 countries co-sponsored that draft resolution, and we take it as a great sign of the interest and the commitment of a lot of member states for this important cause. As you might know, children in armed conflict, the protection agenda for children is one of the priorities of my country, of Germany's presidency for this month. In light of the ongoing, shocking, and dramatic suffering of children in many armed conflicts in this world, we are convinced that we, the international community, and Security Council specifically, have to do everything to increase our efforts to stop and prevent heinous crimes that are committed against children. We are therefore really satisfied and gratified by the huge support we received this morning in this debate and the widespread participation of member states. And we take it as a sign of commitment of the international community to advance the protection agenda. I cannot hide that safeguarding the integrity of the current mechanisms of the United Nations, the mandate for the SRSG, the work of the working group of the Security Council, the reporting mechanism of the Secretary General, to safeguard those mechanisms came with a price. We would certainly have preferred to achieve unanimity in the Council, but it was not meant to be. It was impossible to meet the demands made by some Council members without compromising the very substance of the protection mandate and mechanism that are existing and have so far been widely accepted, and compromising or engaging in a rollback on this mandate would have been irresponsible. These mechanisms have proven successful in the past. I don't want to be complacent about this, but many members this morning enumerated that there are 20 action plans now agreed with governments or rebel groups and the SRSG. We have tens of thousands child soldiers that were released, and I think that is also a result of the tireless efforts of members of the United Nations, of the SRSG, and not least the Security Council. It's an encouraging process, and yet we should not give up in our efforts. There are serious challenges that remain. New parties had to be listed in the Secretary General's report for recruiting children, for killing and maiming, and most recently also for intentional attacks on schools and hospitals. You might remember that just last July, when Germany held the presidency of the Council, we managed to adopt a resolution that envisages attacks on schools and hospitals as an additional trigger for the naming and shaming mechanism. There's still a lot to be done. As I said in the Council, we need to put a stronger focus on the alarming number of persistent perpetrators. We need to think about ways to increase meaningful pressure on those individuals, perhaps even considering targeted sanctions measures. From our point of view, it must be clear that those who flagrantly and persistently violate international law and Security Council resolutions, that those must be held accountable. And we owe this not only to the credibility of the Council, first and foremost, we owe it to the children, the most vulnerable group in our societies. And with those words, I hand over to the SRSG. I might add that unanimously the Council warmly welcomed the new SRSG and wished her success for her work. I, for my country, expressed full support of Germany in her efforts, in her difficult yet so important assignment. Laila.
Thank you very much. I would like first to thank Germany for this public debate that we had this morning. I think that for me, it was the first time they addressed the Security Council. I briefed the Security Council on the work done by my predecessor, because it is the report published during the tenure of Mrs. Kumaraswamy, and I would like to seize the opportunity to thank her and to really ensure that we will continue to work in the same spirit, and I hope that we will continue to achieve progress, because tremendous work was done during her tenure, and as it was said this morning, we get a very interesting result, even if we continue to receive, unfortunately, violation continue and increase perpetrator. Still, as you hear this morning, 52 now listed perpetrators, 32 are persistent. I hope that we will find a way, as it was suggested by Ambassador de la Sablière, to find a way. But I'm here first. I'm just arriving. It's my first week, so I hope that I will have more to tell you in the future, but I'm open to take any question if you wish.
Thank you. George Baumgarten, Nation Media Group, East Africa. A lot of the countries involved in these kinds of practices are large, difficult to govern countries. I'm thinking particularly of the DRC. What would you say to the leaders of that country, to Mr. Kabila and others, about controlling some of the people in their forces and controlling outlying parts of their territory, particularly in the Northeast? And what, if they would listen to you, would you say to the rebel groups about engaging in practices of this, and how and why they should cease doing so?
I think that the situation in DRC is really one of an issue that this mandate is totally involved in, because I think that the children paid a very high price in DRC, and specifically in the East. we worked very closely with the government. It was not always easy from the beginning, but I think that we achieved to build trust and confidence to, first of all, address the issue of impunity, because I think that, to stop violation, it's absolutely necessary that the fight against impunity is real, and that those who are committing violation knew that there is a price. This is very clear, and we worked closely with the government and with other partners on the ground, UN and other partners, to ensure that this is, the message is clear. We also provide strong support to build the penal chain, to build the justice response, because I think that the best way to address the impunity issue is to build an institutional, strong institutional, durable response. And this is, in my opinion, where we have to start. First of all, get the will from the government. When you get the will, then you can work on building the capacity. And I believe that today, in the DRC, from the government side, there is a strong commitment. We are in a process to finalize an action plan. Yesterday, I received the last version that will be maybe today or tomorrow adopted. So I think there is a commitment. We need to pursue that. There is another issue. You talk about how you can control those who are within the army and there are maybe or are perpetrators. I think that this is also something that you have to take it in a holistic, have an holistic approach, work on the security sector reform, and this is also something that the Security Council and the resolution, with the resolution of DRC adopted, and I'm sure that the mission is pursuing this approach. I would add that many of the major perpetrators that were within the army, that were holding a parallel chain of command, are now in the bush. They joined the armed groups. So we need to strengthen those who have a commitment to address this issue of children associated with armed conflict. And if we talk to the rebels, we already did on the ground. We try to address also this. When it comes to people that don't know, that people that feel that at 15 or at 16 a child is a man and have to help the problems of the community, then the sensitization work, sometimes it's not enough. You need to also find alternatives to those who don't have other way for their for living. So issues of development also need to be addressed. But for those who are doing it in purpose, because they would like to maintain the instability, to weaken the state authority, then you need also to address by other means, which mean fighting impunity, taking actions and sanction, etc.
If I can just follow up, you have some commitment from the government, but it has not yet been implemented or promulgated at all levels in the DRC. You have some commitment from the government, but that policy, to your position on the policy of impunity, but it has not yet been implemented at all levels in the army and the military.
In the DRC, you have a problem of, first of all, capacity. In many areas, you don't have the justice functioning properly. So that's why we are working with the government. I think that there is commitment. It's not always implemented at all levels. I agree with you, but commitment exists, and I'm sure that the mission is pushing and working, and other partners, not only the mission. We are now in a process of implementing a joint justice year program, and the new government is working closely with the mission. I'm sure that they will achieve more than we did in the past.
وضعية الأطفال في النزاعات في العالم العربي خاصة ما يقع الآن في سوريا.
تكلمت في صباحا الوضع امام مجلس الامن بالنسبه للوضع في سوريا وفي بلدان أخرى في المنطقة العربية، من بينها أيضا تكلمت على الوضع في ليبيا، تكلمت على الوضع في السودان وفي جهات أخرى. أعتقد أن الوضع في سوريا كما قلت في الصباح يعني وضعية تشغلنا كثير، لأنه طبعا المعلومات التي تصلنا الأطفال يعانون من أنه فأولا أثار الحرب، يعني في انتهاكات، في قنابل تصب على مناطق فيها أطفال. فطبعا أنا تكلمت أول ما وصلت هنا إلى نيويورك، تكلمت مع سفير سوريا، لأني أعتقد أنه مهم جدا أننا نشتغل مع الحكومة ومع الأطراف التي تشتغل في الميدان حتى نجد الحلول الناجعة لوقف أولا الانتهاكات التي يعاني منها الأطفال كجزء أيضا من المدنيين بصفة عامة. طبعا أتمنى أنه يكون هناك اتصال أكثر، أتمنى أنه يكون عندي فرصة أن نزور سوريا في أقرب الآجال حتى تكون عندي فكرة أكثر على ما هو موجود في الميدان وكيف يمكننا أن نواجه الوضع وكيف نوقف الانتهاكات والاعتداءات.